Support workers can be an important source of support for your child and for you as a family. Support workers can increase your child's independence by assisting with personal care, getting them out and about in the community, and supporting your child to play and have fun. Support workers are funded under the core budget in your child's NDIS plan. So, how do you find a support worker? Well, there are a number of ways. For starters, you can go through an organisation or a service provider. The NDIS website has a provider search tool for registered NDIS service providers based on location and services offered. You could attend local disability-related events or expos. These events can be an excellent opportunity to meet representatives from different organisations and learn about their services. Or you might use an online matching platform to find support workers. These platforms function as online services that aid in your search process. It's important to note that not all of these platforms are registered under the NDIS, leading to varying levels of supervision over the support workers they provide. This is something to consider when using a matching platform. Another common way is to find a support worker on your own. Seek advice from friends, family, or your child's therapist. You can also create a brief ad outlining your requirements for a support worker without sharing too much personal information. Share it within your networks for interested individuals to contact you. An important aspect to keep in mind when directly hiring support workers, instead of going through an organisation, is that you may be responsible for things like tax, superannuation, and insurance. If you want to use your personal networks but not deal with the legal aspects, you can get a worker to register with an online matching platform. To find the right support worker for your child, think about what things you want to see in your support worker. I know I would want someone who respects the choices of others, is a good communicator, and someone kind and patient. At some point in this process, you are going to meet a potential support worker. And when you do, don't be afraid to state clearly what you want and need from them, and to ask questions. Get a feel for who they are and whether they meet your expectations. And check how practical working with them might be. Ask about cancellation policies. Get a feel for their schedule and whether it will work for you. They will likely have other clients. Do they have enough time for what your child needs? Find out what training they have and what prior work experience they have. You might ask questions like, what would you do if my child, for example, sprained their ankle or something? You can gauge a lot, not only by what they say in their response, but also by getting a glimpse of how quickly they can think on their feet. Get referees and call at least 2 before you let the applicants know of your decision. Another big thing to remember is that any single support worker is unlikely to be able to cover all of your needs. And maybe you need 2 or 3 who you can contact to cover holidays or sick leave. Then there are the non-negotiables that you need to consider. At the bare minimum, I would expect a working with children check and NDIS worker screening check. Okay, so let's say you've got your child support worker. Now what? What will they do with your child? And who comes up with new ideas? Like most things, planning is super important. Think about how you can involve your child in the session planning. How long will it take to get to an activity or venue? How long will the activity take? And what's your escape plan if it all goes wrong? Don't be afraid to ask your support worker to bring some ideas to the session. A good support worker will have a backup plan and be able to change gears if the weather turns or if a venue is closed. Another great tip is to make an About Me or child profile. The best ones are brief, no more than an A4 page. It will give a support worker a snapshot of the important things to know about your child. Make sure you include key contact numbers, emergency service numbers, medications, and other important medical details. Include a photo of your child. The great thing about having this ready is that it can come in handy in other situations like childcare, school, or any time you have to deal with a new health professional. Have a think about the best way for you to communicate with your support worker. It sounds like such a little thing, but I've found it super helpful to establish early on whether it be through a provider or directly. There's no point in you sitting and waiting for a text, and meanwhile, they're sending emails, wondering why you haven't replied. And is it just going to be you communicating with the support worker, or your partner, or another family member as well? If it's not just you, consider making it a group chat to avoid miscommunication. My last tip is to set boundaries with your support worker. At some stage, you'll probably need to decide whether you're comfortable with them being friends with your child on social media. It's worth thinking about in advance and setting your boundaries early. There's a lot to think about, and the earlier these thoughts are clear in your mind, the better equipped you'll be when they come up.